Well, on the evening of March 14th, to comply with the Supreme Court order, the Election Commission published on its website data that had been supplied by the State Bank of India on electoral bonds. Now, in this data mix, it was essentially in two parts. The first part was with respect to how much every political party secured through these electoral bonds. That was the simple bit. The more interesting and the tricky bit was the second part, which detailed each and every electoral bond sold, who bought those bonds, and how much was that bond bought for, the denomination of the bond. Interestingly, however, there was no linkage between the two. There was no clarity which donor donated how much to which party. Now, this is where a unique serial number comes in. What was missing from this data was a unique serial number. Now, what is a unique serial number and why is it significant? We'll have to travel back in some time for that. In 2018, at the time of the genesis of the electoral bond scheme, the State Bank of India had written to the Finance Ministry seeking for a unique alphanumeric number to be assigned to every electoral bond. The rationale that the State Bank had given is that this will, number one, help establish an audit trail, and number two, in case of law enforcement agencies seeking details, such a unique serial number will ensure that data can be easily sourced and then supplied to the law enforcement agencies. The Finance Ministry saw merit in this and allowed for such a unique serial number to be assigned. Now, that is what has been cited by the petitioners before the top court. The petitioners are arguing that with this unique serial number, three key questions are answered. Who bought the bond? How much the bond was bought for, and which party did the bond go to? So this will help establish the linkage between the donors, who are the donors to India's leading political parties. And that is the key question that petitioners have argued cannot be answered now. The State Bank of India has not publicly declared the unique serial number. Now, that appears to have struck a chord with the apex court as well. The CJI today asking some tough questions, asking the SBI why these unique serial numbers had not been declared, asking why the Supreme Court's order was not complied with, given as how the gist was quite clear that the Supreme Court had asked for full disclosure. Not just that, the Supreme Court took exception to how the State Bank of India was not present in this hearing. The CJI, in fact, at one point remarking that SBI should have been here to answer any questions that the apex court might have had. So with that, we understand that State Bank of India has been put on notice. Keep in mind that in the previous order of March 11th, the Supreme Court was quite clear, had issued a warning that in case SBI does not comply with the Supreme Court directions, the Supreme Court may choose to take some action. So stand that. With that in mind, the State Bank of India, in receipt of a notice, the CJI has issued a notice. A brief weekend is what the SBI has to respond to that notice. On Monday, SBI will have to come back with a response on why the unique serial number data was not disclosed. And with that, the apex court will resume hearing on Monday and perhaps give more clarity on the way forward on number one, whether or not SBI faces any action, number two, if there's any clarity on the declaration of the unique serial number, and number three, what is the way forward in the electoral bond saga.
For more news and updates, all you need to do is follow CNBC TV18 on all of our digital platforms.